What's up, everyone? You are tuned into the DNVR Rockies Podcast, brought to you by Bet365. Use code DNVR365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it is never ordinary with Bet365. Welcome to the podcast, everyone. It is a beautiful day in Denver, and we've got a nice little crossover show going on because we get to introduce our newest guest and newest team member here in the ALLCITY crew. Abby Jones, welcome to the show. Abby, you're going to be, jumping on the DLLS Rangers coverage, and I just personally can't say how excited we are to have you on the show and have you on the team with us.
Thank you, guys. Hey, Christian. Hey, Kale. Lucky me. I've been spending all week with your beautiful wife, and she has just set us up for success here. I think that we had the most smooth launch, if that's kind of what I'm hearing correctly.
That's what I've been told as well.
This team's been amazing. We've got a great crew here. We were kind of joking about it, if this would have came to Dallas a year ago when we had probably the best run in Dallas sports history that we've ever seen. Hopefully we'll get around to at some point. But no, it's great teams to cover here, great teams to talk about, and we've got a great crew covering each beat. So we are very excited. I think the people of Dallas are going to show up for DLLS. So I'm incredibly excited to see what is to come.
Well, and it helps that you guys have such a stellar lineup of talent, getting mixed in there. People kind of coming from all different walks of the media world in Dallas. So first of all, for the fans here that, love Major League Baseball here in Denver, introduce yourself, your background, and then also the team that you're working with the Rangers, so that fans can kind of know who they're getting their information from the Rangers side of things.
For sure. I say that the game of baseball chose me. I was really fortunate to grow up in the industry. My dad was a relief pitcher for multiple teams, actually spent a little bit of time in Denver. So grew up in baseball. I think he retired when I was around 12 years old. And ever since then, I feel like I've been trying to find my way back to the diamond. It's one of those things, when you're growing up in it, you don't realize how cool it is. You kind of just think it's what everyone else experiences and gets to do. And then, you're taken away from it and you're like, wait, it seems a little bit weird that I'm not at the field all the time or traveling to cities to go to games. So ever since then, I've been trying to get back in it. Actually moved out to Dallas 3 years ago to join Valley Sports Southwest. From there, I got to cover every single team in Dallas, minus the Cowboys. And then this opportunity came, and it was just one that I could not resist. So I've been fortunate to cover the Rangers, the Mavericks, the Stars. But I've spent my whole life in baseball, and I just say that going to the field is the biggest family reunion because I literally get to see one of my dad's former teammates or maybe a player that he's coached or just a really close family friend almost every home series. So it's really fun that, you can get your hugs and catch up with everybody before the game even begins. And it's just kind of a family. You know how it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. And look, I would like to say that it feels the same way here in Denver. I think it's a little bit of a different vibe, just given, some of the struggles that the franchise for the Rockies has had over the years. But, with the Rangers now, the Rangers have had some recent success. And you guys, we're going to talk about this as the show goes on, but you guys have had a pretty kind of breakout season last year, getting to the World Series, winning the World Series in a season that no one really expected it to, in all honesty. But for you, getting to cover the World Series, I mean, I personally, I'm super jealous because we are hoping that we can get there, in the next couple of years. But I mean, what was that experience like for you to just get to be able to be present in a World Series championship market, and breaking in with the Rangers?
It was surreal. I really can't put into words how exciting it is. And I will say, I think covering the NBA Finals this summer gave me more perspective on covering the World Series as well, because you think when it's just the absolute event of the year, you kind of have expectations. I didn't really have any expectations with the Rangers just because it was just so new to me. And I've seen it from, the family side of things, but working in it is just a totally different ball game. And it was amazing. I mean, how the Rangers handled everything. MLB was so organized with everything from start to finish, and they thought down to the detail. Literally, our water bottles that you could just pick up for the game had like the World Series logo. I grabbed like 5 or 6 because who doesn't want World Series water bottles to drink out of? Yeah. I just feel a little bit cooler when I'm at the gym. But no, I mean, it was so cool. And I think the payoff for me there was covering a team every single day and every single game. Those players, there's so much asked of them during that time span. And you could tell that when we kind of approached them and it was familiar faces, they were like, Abby, thank God it's just you, you know, like you kind of got to see like a different side of them and a really exciting time in their career. And it's almost like you were kind of like a little safety net for them. So it was surreal, exceeded my expectations beyond a million. So fun to just see all the biggest names in baseball. My dad spent some time with the Red Sox too, and Big Papi kind of remembered me and gave me a big hug, and he's like, how's your papa? And I'm like, Big Papi, good to see you too. So yeah, it was the coolest thing ever. The parade was amazing. And this season it might be the most disheartening season coming off of a World Series win, and I know we're going to get into that, but I am going to live in my blissful ignorance, and we won the World Series last year, so I'm happy.
I mean, hey, you've got the nostalgia to last you a lifetime. The Rockies still have yet to win an official World Series. So, you know, the nice thing though about it is you talk about the success that the Dallas teams have had over the last few years, especially last year. And I felt like that was similar to Denver sports over the last couple of years. And I actually made this argument on a podcast like a couple of years ago when I was saying, and at the time, Russell Wilson had just gotten traded to the Broncos. We hadn't seen the failures that ended up becoming. So we had thought that was going to be more of a success. I know that's a tough subject for us. But, at the time you were like, okay, the Denver Nuggets are championship competitors. They hadn't won their NBA finals yet, but they were at least playoff competitors. The Stanley Cup had just been won by the Avs. The Rockies were whatever. And then the Broncos had just gotten Russell Wilson. And so you thought to yourself, well, hey, this is a amazing time to be involved in. This is the best time that you could be a fan in Denver sports. And I felt like seeing the Nuggets win their first NBA Finals, NBA championship in franchise history, even though I didn't grow up a Nuggets fan, getting to be around a community of people that saw that happen for the first time gave me that like hope for the Rockies that, when it does happen, because it will happen. I mean, we've seen huge droughts like the Cubs, winning a World Series a few years ago, like those droughts getting kind of extinguished. Like it's going to happen eventually. And when it does, it feels so sweet when those types of things happen. And so to be able to have that kind of relief, it lasts you for years. And I was going to ask, one of the questions I was going to ask later was, would you rather have a team that just, doesn't have a lot of success for a long period of time, but kind of continues to look towards the future for hope and, there's a bright future ahead? Or would you rather have a team that, goes and wins a World Series, but then has a huge drop off? I think the answer to that question for me, at least, is of course the you got to have that World Series mixed in there because, that euphoria lasts for years, like decades. It feels like, after that.
No, I'm from Alabama. So, to quote Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last.
Yep.
So we were first, and this year we're almost last. So, it's there's ups and downs of a season. Baseball, it's 162 games a year, especially when you're in playoffs and you're going to the World Series. I mean, that's a long season. I also gained more perspective on teams that are constantly in the, making that playoff run because it is such a grind. But I will say the coolest day for me wasn't actually the day that we won the World Series. It was really the opening day ring ceremony. That was where it felt like, oh my gosh, we just won the World Series. To watch Bruce Bochy carry out this trophy, the rings, oh my gosh, they were insane. I'm actually friends with Jason of Beverly Hills, who created the rings. And I was, telling him, like, the second we won, I'm like, you're doing our rings, right? And he said, I literally just sent in my proposal. And then he did a really cool thing that I've never seen anybody else do. He made replicas for the fans, and you could also purchase like your own variation of the ring. There were kind of classes that you could pick from, but it felt like when the Rangers won the World Series, the city won the World Series, It just felt like it was bigger than just the team itself. So to answer your question, I think I'm going to go with the World Series, even if this season is heartbreaking like it is. We're going to get into it for sure, but 2025, the Rangers are going to be a really good team. And, Bruce Bochy, statistically, he has never been in the playoffs after winning a World Series. So, and he's
every other year with the Giants.
Every other year he won. So, I mean, if we're, adding the numbers up here, next year's supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah, next year's not an even year, so you might need to wait another year till after that. In Bruce Bochy's terms.
Bruce Bochy's got some magic though, but yeah, I mean, it's a down year, and I think that's okay because there is so much hope and promise with the future.
Yeah, oh, totally. And I have to say, from my own personal growing up experience, I grew up in a Giants family because my family's from the Bay Area. So Bruce Bochy is a household name for us, and I'm a little jealous that you get to have. True, but especially in our household, I'm like, I'm telling my mom, hey, it's really cool. I get to go, talk to Bud Black before every game. I think that would hit home with her a little different if it was Bruce Bochy that I got to talk to before every game. But still super cool. And I gotta say, I said it earlier, it gives, seeing the success that the Rangers had, I could say the same thing for the Royals and what they're doing right now, or even the Diamondbacks, like teams that kind of go from nobodies to overnight success in a way, gives teams like us hope, because there's that anticipation in the offseason that, are we going to find the next, Paul Skeens? Are we going to find the next Ellie De La Cruz, that kind of just jumps into our lineup and becomes a superstar and leads us into the promised land? So you were there with the Rangers in this kind of rise to fame this last year for the World Series. What were some of the trends and some of the tendencies that you saw that helped build the championship team from kind of a nobody that they were, in the years prior to that?
It's so funny because I can pinpoint remember the moment I tweeted it that we're going to win the World Series. I literally have this tweet bookmarked, and I was like, no, we're not only going, but we're going to win. And it felt like, this team, it was just the perfect storm. Seager and Semien, $500 million on our middle infield. That was a big move. And I want to give every bit of props to Chris Young, because he's a mastermind. How he delegated off-season trades and just considered money. I mean, in baseball, you have to spend money to make money and to win.
Dodgers.
I think, you can kind of look at that with Detroit. Mr. Ilitch, the father, was pretty good about paying players. You've got to be able to take that and hold it and run with it. I mean, they've got potentially the Cy Young winner and with them, and so it's like, invest in your team. And I think that Chris Young did an amazing job of that. When you pair that knowledge with Bruce Bochy, you are destined for greatness, in my opinion. But no, it's interesting though, because you do have a team with Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, which Jacob's hurt, but still a part of the team. Max Scherzer, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien. We've got superstars, and we've got big name guys, and it is so essential that they don't have egos, and none of our guys really do. I think every single person was really wanting to win, and they were willing to do whatever it takes to win. And then you pair that with rookies that were coming up, Josh Young. Our farm system just had so many great guys to work with. And then Evan Carter caught up in the World Series. I mean, so many perfect things. I really feel like the trade deadline when we got Montgomery and then Chapman, I was like, yeah, this is really going to be something special. And, to me, just in the daily reps of it, you see, Corey Seager named the MLB Player of the Month, or, you add up all the accolades. All-Star Game was a really big point. We had 6 starters, and it's like I think All-Star Game, we're on the map a lot. People were really starting to pay attention. Trade deadline, it got a little bit more serious. And then I think it was maybe the Astros series, kind of around August, that we were like, yeah, this, like, players feel it. And, when there's that chemistry, there's seriously no turning back. And I just kept a running list postseason, off-season, of all the awards that our players got over the season. I mean, Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers, like I said, All-Star, led the league in offense, like all of these things. So when you have that kind of season, it's domino effect, and 1 + 1 kind of equals 2. So to me, it makes sense that we won the World Series. Now this year, you pay for it. Our arms had to go a lot longer. Young players got really exposed in the playoffs, like Evan Carter. Adolis Garcia is really struggling this year. So, it's a give and take, risk and reward. But I like our ring that weighs as much as a baseball.
Yeah, that helps. That tends to help. Yeah, I felt like that with the Avalanche. Avalanche won the Stanley Cup, and the year after that, they got knocked out in the first round by the Seattle Kraken. And, and it felt like the same thing. It was almost like a hangover. You're just like, the talent was still there, but the legs weren't there, And I do say, I notice a lot of similarities between, I think the Rockies and the Rangers in some aspects. You've got guys on the Rockies like Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar, Nolan Jones, who had a Rookie of the Year type season in his first season last year with the Rockies. Like, there are pieces to that puzzle that I think are starting to solidify themselves as legitimate competitors in the MLB, and guys I think like Brenton Doyle who's going to be winning a Gold Glove this year, Rymack, our All-Star, like these are guys that we could be seeing 2, 3, maybe 4 Rockies on an All-Star team in the next couple of years if their career progression continues. For us, we just need to get our pitching figured out, but that's a whole other story. But I do think there is that similarity that you talk about where, you guys start to find their rhythm and their groove with each other. Having a helpful manager or having a manager that's kind of fits into that piece as well is very helpful. But it's cool to see for us because, you dream of a day that we get to say, oh my God, we're at least playing meaningful baseball in September, for the Rockies. And I don't think that's been said since, 2019 for the Rockies. And so, that's something that we have down the road, but interesting to see the similarities between the two and kind of the expectations. But hey, look, I want to take a moment though. Got to recognize one of our sponsors over at Coors Light, because at Coors Light, they're the best and most refreshing light beer that we have. And I don't know what you guys have with the Rangers, but for us, Coors Light, I mean, it's Coors Field, so they're obviously a huge partner.
Well,
but
that makes sense.
It does, yeah. It seems to be a good partnership between the two. And Kale was the one who reminded me that they actually, Coors Stadium, Coors Field, has lifetime naming rights for the stadium. I did not know that.
Really?
But yeah,
Okay.
so it's going to be Coors Field forever. And Coors Light, one of the best
cool.
beers that you can get at Coors Field, and you can get it for $3 before first pitch. You can get 2 Coors Light beers for $3 a piece before first pitch, and then I think after the 7th inning, you get it for $4. It's a wild deal. So if you're out at Coors Field, it's like 90 degrees. There is no better way to cool down than getting a nice, cold, refreshing Coors Light beer. Embrace that chill mindset and choose chill by making the most out of that time to choose chill. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instant Cart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Please celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company in Golden, Colorado. Also got to give a shout out to our friends over at Bet365, because at Bet365, we don't do ordinary. We believe that every sport should be epic, whether it's the Rangers, the Rockies, the Broncos, the Cowboys, whoever it is, it's going to be epic. And using the code DNVR365 when you sign up, you can deposit $10 and choose between either a bet and get offer or a first bet safety net offer. But one of my favorite offers that they have is the MLB early payout offer. With Bet365, if your team goes up 5 runs or more, which the Rockies were up by 5 or more yesterday before they blew up and lost that game. But either way,
I did watch your game.
It was.
Yeah, we were rained out.
You had time. Yeah, you had time to watch our disaster of a game. But if you were involved in the Bet365 world and you got that MLB early payout offer, you would have gotten an early payout if your team goes 5 runs up or more at any point in the game. Same game parlay selections will be also marked as winners using code DNVR365 when you sign up. And check out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older or physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem or wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, yeah, let's talk about what happened last night for a moment. You said you watched it, so thank you. And bless you for watching us last night, because that was one of the tough ones. You know, the Rockies, I think it was my second homestand when I was covering the team this year. They were down by 8 runs and ended up coming back and winning it. And so it was one of those moments where you were like, all right, that's like peak Rockies season right there. You know, the fans were loving it. And Bud Black said after the game, there are times, he was excited, but he was saying, there are times in the season, it's a long season, that's going to, those games are going to happen. You're going to have games where, a team just comes in and gives up 9 runs in the latter half of the game and you lose the game. And that's going to happen to you at times. Well, last night, that happened to the Rockies in front of a stadium full of barking dogs. The Rockies gave up a 6-run lead that ended up being a 4-run lead going into the 9th inning and then lost that game. But I'll say this, Abby, I had said on Monday in our show, because the Rockies are in a youth movement right now, they're looking to the future of their franchise. They've got pretty much every single guy on their starting defensive lineup is under the age of 30. These kind of games are going to happen. I'm not too worried about the wins and losses. I just think for a Rockies fan out there, it's hard to swallow, a loss like that at any point. But I know the Rangers are in similar position right now where, your team is struggling, with some of the veterans that are hurt, and reaching the end of their career. You're looking to that youth movement. I'm not overly concerned about the disastrous games like this when you've got 21-year-old kids who are getting really their, first partial season at a major league level. These type of things are going to happen. You just hope that they happen now when the games don't mean as much than in 2 years when hopefully you're playing for a title.
Right. And, a young team that's doing it well is the Tigers. I mean, they just reached above the 500 mark the other day.
Yep.
So it's not always going to click right on, but I mean, it definitely is possible. Somebody said yesterday, because Jack Leiter is going to make an MLB start. It's not his first, but it's kind of like a second chance for him. And there's no AAA and a half or minor, major, minor leagues. It's minor league baseball and it's major league baseball. And your first game in, you could be facing Aaron Judge, It's going to be, and he's going to destroy a ball and you'll remember it for the rest of your life. I mean, it's, you can't create a perfect scenario of where it's a soft lineup. And even if you are playing a team that is, on paper, not great, it's baseball. I mean, baseball is the most, it's just random at times, and there's really no rhyme or reason sometimes. Sometimes you just get a great win, and sometimes you don't play that great. But, you never want to count your opponent out regardless of the record. There's Jack Leiter said it today. His exact quote was, making the transition is not always black and white, this or that, but it's a learning curve. And I think, it's how those young players adjust. I think it's professional sports is all about the adjustments, and that's where you lean on your veterans of the club or your staff, and you can really, go and talk to them and try to make those improvements. There's a very thin line of not putting too much pressure on yourself. We saw that with Wyatt Langford. I mean, the kid was dying to hit a home run because he raped in spring training. But hey, it's a spring training game. You're in the big leagues. Just because, you do something in AAA or you did something in college and you were known for that, that does not mean that it translates as easily. I think that fans can, sometimes sit and say, oh, well, he did this in his last start or he did this in the first month. Let's pencil him down for that. You can't do it. They're not robots, and you're glad they're not, because then it wouldn't be that much of an exciting game to watch. But it's just all about making your stuff transition to the big leagues. That's the biggest part, and building that confidence. Like you said, this is we're playing a little bit with Jack Leiter, and probably going to finish out the season with him because we have the opportunity to do so, and you'd kind of rather iron out the kinks at this point in the season and then try to come back strong for 2025, given the season so far, work on the opportunities that you can with your farm system. But it's a harder transition than people think.
Oh, totally. It's not as black and white as you mentioned, and a perfect example of that. I don't know if you saw this a couple days ago in the Rockies, the finishing out their series. I think it was on Sunday against the Yankees. Jeff Criswell made his second major league appearance on the mound, coming in relief. His first major league appearance, his debut, got out of the inning and no runs allowed. Second appearance, back-to-back-to-back home runs to Soto, Judge, and Stanton against the Yankees. And you're like, actually, I talked to Bud about that 2 days ago, and he was kind of pissed. He was like, I grabbed him in the dugout and was like, dude, like, what are you doing? This isn't AAA anymore, man. Like, you got to get your balls down. But that's the types of lessons I would rather be learning now than in 2 years, like you just said. So I think you're right. Like, you might be able to get away with starting off AAA lineup with first pitch fastball, or leaving slider high in the zone every once in a while and getting away with it. You go leave a slider up to, Aaron Judge. Like, I don't care if you're playing at Yankee Stadium or AT&T or wherever, like, that's gone. That's going out in somewhere in left field. So it's important to acknowledge that. And there's a learning curve for almost all MLB rookies. I say almost because there's a couple X factors out there like Skeens who just like show up and you're just like, all right, you're an all-star from day one. But the Rockies for us, and I know, partially for you guys in Texas, like, there is this view of like the future of our franchise is in the minors right now. And so we have to be bringing in that talent and rotating through some of those guys, and being okay when those guys struggle. Drew Romo made his MLB debut in the Padres series on Todd Helton Day, no less, and at catcher. And, and he's been great behind the plate. His hitting just hasn't been there, and to me, I'm like, that's okay. Like, I want to still see him getting reps. I want to still see him getting out there and getting that experience. And I want to ask your opinion on this because I think there is a big focus right now in Rockies fans on like the managerial side of things here, because Bud Black is a very veterans heavy manager. He manages really well by trusting his veteran players. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Rockies had success in 2018 and 2019 in his first 2 years. For Bruce Bochy, is he adapting to some of the young guys, in your opinion, that the need for that future growth, or is he a guy that leans heavily on the veterans? I know he did that with the Giants when he was in San Francisco. How has that shifted for him and the Rangers, and that kind of dynamic worked out for you guys?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Todd Helton, because I'm going to reference Jim Leland. And hey, you guys got to celebrate a Hall of Fame player. I mean, that's one positive thing about your season. So hold on to that.
Oh yeah.
But Jim Leland was actually the manager when my dad was with the Tigers for quite some time. So he was probably one of the first managers that I remember with a very unique approach. And my dad would always say he treated everyone the same, but he treated everyone different. I think Bruce Bochy is one of the greatest managers in the game, period.
Hall of Fame,
and I love sitting and talking with him. He will spend so much time with me. I'll never take that for granted. But I said, Boch, this is Leland's approach. Do you have like a motto? And he said, play as one. And he is this, I pretty much asked him this question verbatim. And I said, when you're in a rut like you are, throughout your years, you're obviously whatever comes out of your mouth, players are going to respect, like Scherzer or this guy that just got called up who, it's his first time in the big leagues because of who you are. Do you think with, your grandfather time in the league, you have taken maybe a more graceful approach into these slumps, and have you figured out the balance of, oh, I need to push this guy further, or oh, hey, this guy's being really hard on himself, maybe I just need to encourage him? Prime example would be Adolis Garcia. I mean, I don't think anybody's beating himself up more than Adolis Garcia, and it's like, when you see that, Bruce sees that, and he knows he doesn't have to say anything. He's going to be the one to encourage him. But hey, maybe, Josh Smith's another great example for the Rangers. I didn't know what he was capable of. I don't think Josh Smith knew what he was capable of. I'll tell you who did, though. It was Bruce Bochy, and he pulled that out of him. So he said it's a very fine line of, knowing where players are at, being able to really, really see it, read their level, get a feel. Are they at their breaking point, or are they just not really pushing themselves like I think that they should? And he's just the absolute best. But I also want to point out, something else to consider with rookies. Me and my brother talked about this. He's a hitting coach, and he was in Florida with JUCO, and, Wyatt Langford came from Florida. They don't have a ton of technology, and he also said Florida specifically is a program that lets you kind of do what works for you. They're not really going to critique your swing that much. And so Wyatt Langford, first time in the big leagues, he's got this world of analytics and state-of-the-art equipment to watch his swing and, take in all of this new information. So it's also just adjusting, you're getting the cream of the crop with data analytics, scout reports, all this stuff. It's a lot of information to take. Again, a fine balance of, hey, I know this works for me. Hey, let me read the numbers. Hey, let me have some feel for this. And you kind of got to just create your own little perfect storm,
Yeah. Oh, totally. And I think a good manager, like you said, knows how to work through that dynamic and help not be too hands-on with players, but, help get the players, the confidence they need to get to a place like that. But hey, let's take a moment real quick. Got to recognize one of our other sponsors, Game Time. Baseball season's still in full swing, no matter where you are, whether you're in Texas, whether you're in Denver, no matter where you are, there has never been a better time to be a fan of any sport than right now. And with Game Time app, it's incredibly easy to find cheap, affordable, and incredible seats at the click of a button. Game Time has this new feature that they're rolling out called Game Time Picks, which makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks basically filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You don't got to sit there on the computer just scrolling, like, which, is there a poll in front of me? Like, what, where do I want to sit? Game Time Picks makes it easy for you to find your seats, get great prices. You can see a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy it. They've got the lowest price guarantee. It is just incredible. It's an incredible feature that the Game Time app has. So take the guesswork out of buying and buy tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It is game time. For our next sponsor, Abby, I wanted to ask you, do you guys have Raising Cane's in Texas? Is that a thing for you?
We do. I'm actually new to it. We didn't have it back in Bama.
Okay, and the reason I ask is because I remember there was a city that I was in. I think it was somewhere in Eastern Washington that got Raising Cane's for the first time. And I was also kind of new to it as well. Hadn't experienced the chicken fingers from Raising Cane's yet. And I just remember doing a news story because there was a line that shut down a highway of people waiting to get into Raising Cane's. It was incredible. So I wanted to make sure that you guys, got to experience the hype of Raising Cane's in Texas as well. But hey, look, Raising Cane's is the place to be. They are your one-stop shop for hand-battered chicken fingers. Like you said, their sauce is incredible. They've got everything that you want to eat. Kale and I, we're huge Raising Cane's fans. It's one of those things that every time we do a read for Raising Cane's, it's like, like we got to just leave the show and go get some because you get hungry. Food reads are always impossible for me to get through.
And it's lunchtime. I mean.
Exactly. Especially for you guys. You guys an hour ahead of us. You guys are ready for lunch. But hey, look, Raising Cane's is truly has the most quality and best tasting ingredients for their chicken fingers. So for cooked to order, hand battered chicken fingers, race into Raising Cane's. Turbocharge your chicken fingers and get them even faster by ordering online at raisingcanes.com or through their mobile app. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love. All right, before we jump back into the baseball stuff, you guys are new at DLLS. This first week, a huge launch party that you guys have gotten going. I know Marissa said you guys have been partying hard, working hard. It's been great. But so to kind of help, work through this transition for you guys, I wanted to do some kind of introductions to some of the traditions that we have at ALLCITY. Okay. And I will say, I'm also kind of new to ALLCITY as well. I've been around the company for 3 years now, but I'm, working wise, this is my first year working for the company. But, for ALLCITY, we do these things called takeovers. And basically what a takeover is it's just this huge event that fans can buy tickets for from the company. So from DLLS or from DNVR. And we put on this big party, basically. And so they're different in each market. So I wanted to go through, and in your eyes, I wanted to list these off, and then I want you to kind of rank what you think the top takeovers are at the other markets. And then I want to hear your thought on what you might think an incredible Rangers takeover could be. So first of all, we've got the DNVR Rockies takeover, which basically means you pregame at our sports bar here in-house. It's the DNVR bar here at the office. It is incredible. And pregame there, you get on a party bus. There's music, drinks, all pretty much coolers of drinks there. Marissa's usually the one who's our DJ, and she's got some pretty good beats. And then you drive out. She's got the playlist. She's got it all figured out. And then they drop you off at the stadium. We've done takeovers where we've rented out a suite and been able to party from the suite, watch the game. The bus takes you back to the bar, and you get to kind of have an after party at the bar. That's the DNVR Rockies takeover.
Sounds good.
It's a great time. PHNX has the Diamondbacks pool party where they rent out the pool in center field. And I don't know if they have a party bus or all that stuff, but they got the pool, and everyone just like shows up in their swimsuits and just gets to watch Diamondback baseball from the pool. So that's PHNX. And then this is going beyond baseball, but the DNVR Broncos booze cruise. We did a booze cruise on the Thames in London when the Broncos played their game in London. And so, and there were like a ton of Broncos fans that came and bought tickets from DNVR. And it was like 50 to 75 Broncos fans from Denver, including people at the company, just partying on a boat. Diehards, and just like fans who just bought, tickets, like that just wanted to come hang out. And that was a pretty incredible one. So out of those three, like I said, 2 baseball, 1 football, what's your ranking of top ALLCITY takeovers? And then I want to know what your dream is for a DLLS takeover in the future.
Okay, obviously I cannot say that the Diamondbacks pool is my number 1. Hello. Fair. I'm going to refrain. But I mean, the pool is cool. I'll say that. But
that is cool.
That's the bottom of my list. I'm going to have to go with London, number 1. I've never been to London, and I think the perfect opportunity would be to go to London for a football game. So that an international trip is going to be pretty hard to beat. And then I love the party bus. I mean, that's, how great would that have been for Park at the Park last night?
Oh my gosh. There were actually there were other little shuttles. They weren't buses, but they were shuttles dropping off people at the park, at the stadium.
Yeah.
And people were just getting out with just their dogs. It was like a line of people exiting these little tiny shuttles with just carrying their Great Dane out. And you're like, oh, is that your lap dog? Like, what are we doing with that?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good time.
That's funny. So I'm gonna say, can I say a DLLS generic one? Because I'm thinking Mavs would maybe be the coolest. And I'm going to go with a hometown trip to Slovenia.
Ooh. Oh,
Stein is there now. So he's kind of going back and forth. I think that would be the best because I also covered Mavericks pretty closely with Valley Sports Southwest. So I'm pretty locked in on the Mavs, I will say.
that would be cool.
Obviously for Rangers, Houston is going to be an essential road trip, but it's also right down the road. So
Literally a road trip.
Yeah, road trip. So if I'm thinking probably like the coolest one, I'm gonna go. We're doing a hometown date for Luka in Slovenia.
That would be cool. I know, Kale, you guys went to Serbia.
We did. We went to, we did a whole Serbia takeover for 8 days. Yeah, it was cool.
For Nikola Jokic. So
Did you guys have anybody in Paris?
We haven't been to Paris. The CHGO boys went to Paris when the Bulls were there 2 years ago, and then we were in Serbia the year before that. So it's been we've done a couple of Europe trips.
Yeah, a couple trips across the sea. Yeah, it's those international trips are pretty sweet. I agree with you. Those crossovers though for baseball, the Astros and Rangers crossovers, super cool. We were going to do a CSU like party bus this year for the football games. We decided to not do that because that football rivalry might boil over into something a little dangerous. So, baseball is a little bit different vibe. You can be on a baseball bus with people and not kill each other for the most part. That seems a little bit more realistic.
The Astros series is maybe, I think it's worse than Red Sox Yankees.
Ooh. Well, the Astros are one of the most hated teams in Major League Baseball. That doesn't help,
That one gets pretty heated. So that has my vote.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I know takeovers are in your guys' future. It's just a matter of when and where, and so that's a cool thing that you guys get to do here soon. But hey, I want to talk Major League Base, national stuff going on here for a second, because there's a pretty interesting story right now in terms of National League MVP. And I know you're in the American League with the Rangers, but being a baseball fan and covering MLB, you're very involved in all of this. But Shohei Ohtani and Marcell Ozuna, kind of the two names that stand out right now in the MVP category. And I've had a lot of fans on the DNVR Rockies side of things, because we're so involved in the National League, that are having a lot of debates on who should be the MVP. And so I wanted to throw it out to you and throw out this hypothetical situation. Shohei Ohtani obviously already passed the 40-40 club. He's having a heck of a season, and he's on pace for, history this year. But hypothetically, if Shohei Ohtani became the first player ever to go 50 for 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases, but Marcell Ozuna wins the Triple Crown. So assuming that he gets past Ohtani and hits 51 home runs, let's just assume, who would be the National League MVP? What do you think would be the rundown there?
It's really hard. I've got a pretty good pulse on the Braves. Yeah, all of my buddies from back home, they're Braves fans, so it's kind of funny. Literally, the Rangers won the World Series, and they were like, we don't care. Braves were not playing. So I was like, thanks, you guys are so supportive.
Of course.
So, Braves are always a fun team to watch. They're always good. I think that Shohei Ohtani is the most insane athlete, and what he's able to do, he's so mesmerizing. I'm going to have to go with Shohei Ohtani. Just because if you think about every component of this season as well, the injuries, a new team, a new league, he, of course, all of the off-season FBI cases as well. To do what he's done in a new league, at a new field, with a new team, and I think he's on pace for 50-50. I think it could happen. I just think you have to go with Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with either of this. This feels to me, and again, going back to our basketball comparisons, this feels like a Jokic versus Embiid MVP debate, where it's you're not I mean, sorry, did I offend you there, Kale? I mean, you're not like, it's one of those things though, from an analytic standpoint, from
as long as Jokic is Shohei in this comparison.
Yes,
Let's just
Jokic,
be clear here.
Is Shohei. We'll go with that because he's got the numbers to back it up. But like, I feel like it's one of those things where like, if the pendulum tipped one way or the other, no one's surprised, right? Like we as Nuggets fans are obviously going to like riot if Jokic doesn't get the MVP. But like the national basketball fan base understands if Embiid was to get it or if Jokic was to get it. I think it's the same thing with this. If Ozuna was to get it, if he gets the Triple Crown, like I think there's, it would be more of a surprise. But I think people would be like, hey, you get the Triple Crown. Like, dude, that's insane. Like that rarely ever happens. The devil's advocate, because I agree with you. I think Shohei Ohtani's got the name and image and hype. He's the MVP. But to play devil's advocate, I think with the amount of injuries and the lack of depth that the Braves have without some of their core guys, like even with the injuries that the Dodgers have had, they're still like an insanely good team. And they have so much depth that they could still play without some of the guys that they have, the Kershaws, like even Shohei when he was out for a little bit. Like they still are a team that can go to the postseason even without some of those guys. The Braves are like in tatters right now, yet Ozuna is somehow keeping them in the race. Yeah. And if they're able to squeak in, I play the idea of like, who is the most valuable player in his franchise? Yeah. I have to feel like Ozuna feels more valuable to the Braves than Ohtani is to the Dodgers. But I agree with you. Like Ohtani has had everything stacked against him. Yeah.
This is such a valid point. I had this conversation, when Luka was playing with the Mavericks. Luka was undoubtedly the MVP of the season. He had the best numbers statistically since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar set the standard. And he's not the poster boy for NBA, and that's one thing. But also too, his team was not. I think they were like sixth, or I don't even remember where they fell at the end of the season. But they weren't the best team. They weren't winning. So it's like you asked. This is literally what I talked about with the Mavericks coach, one of the coaching staffs, and I said, is it what makes the person an MVP? Is it a person that's not on the best team that's keeping their team in like a fighting chance, or is it the best player on the best team? Because to me, if you've got 3 stars beside you, obviously you're going to have a good season. To me, it's more impressive, at times, but it's really about the storyline, and I think sometimes these votes go more so with like the fans. Like, do you remember back in the day when you had to physically go to the baseball game to get that little printout card and you could poke out the all-star if you wanted to vote? Yeah, it's like that era of sports has sadly been taken away. Now you can vote like 20 times in a day, multiple times in a week, stuff like that. So it's like, at this point, these awards, is it for more of the fans these days and what's the flashier headline, or is it let's look at the numbers and stuff like that? So yeah, I think it's a great debate that a lot of people feel certainly strong about. But that is a question that I think, from little league to, professional sports, like everyone has their different answer of what qualifies an MVP candidate.
Yeah, I think there's a huge X factor to MVP voting that, like you said, is entirely subjective to who's going to be the face of the National League. I think is what it comes down to. Yeah, and Shohei Ohtani is that guy. I look at like Caitlin Clark even with the WNBA. So much of the hype that she had before she'd even stepped foot into the WNBA was this idea that like she's going to be the face of the league, or she was the face of women's basketball in college, and there is truth to that, and there's value involved in that. And also, it's important to, include the numbers. And Ozuna, he is rightfully up there in the debate. I just agree with you. Shohei Ohtani is going to probably be the guy, if his, everything continues the way it goes, that probably walks away, being on top of the MVP candidate list. But just an incredible season for both of those players. And for us as Rockies fans to have them in the National League. Obviously, if we were, playoff competitors, we would probably not enjoy that as much. But now it's just like casual baseball fans where we're just out here having a good time. We love to see it.
Yeah.
So anytime Shohei makes his...
Question for you.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge, do you think he breaks his own record?
I do. Aaron Judge is he's having a season of a lifetime. I think he'll break his own record. I think he's, a walk away with AL MVP. I think he's having one of those seasons that like he's one of those guys that you can show up to watch a Yankees game, which I don't know why you would, but if that was your thing, you show up to watch a Yankees game and he's going to do something incredible. Shohei Ohtani feels the exact same way. And so I think he'll break his own record. And I think the Yankees obviously on paper they're a tough team, but they've had their issues in the last few years. I think they're starting to figure it out this year. So they're going to be a team that is going to make some people stop here come postseason. But hey, before we continue, because I do want to wrap things up here, talking some more baseball here just to finish out the show. But got to give a shout out to our friends over at Circa Resort and Casino. If you're heading out to Vegas at all the rest of the summer, it's school's back in session. Maybe your kids, are back in school and you've got a little bit of extra time. You got Labor Day weekend coming up. It's a good time to get out to Vegas, just get out of the house for a little bit. And if you're out there, check out Circa Resort and Casino because they have some amazing amenities. They're Vegas's first ever adults only casino, so you don't have to run around throwing your ID around like, hey, I'm 21, I swear. You just get to, just by being there, you get to get around and hang out with all the other adults in the building. And they've got the largest and world's largest sports book. 3-story stadium-style seating, tons of VIP seating. Their casino is insanely big with over 1,300 slots, 7,000 square feet. Their stadium swim is awesome. Have you been to Vegas, a bunch in your life or ever before, Abby?
I've never been to Vegas. And
wow.
Me and my dad, he's a Raiders fan. He, I guess, brainwashed me to somewhat be one as well. Never been to Vegas.
Okay. So you're a Cowboys-ish and Raiders fan. That might be the worst combo.
Yeah, you're not going to be a popular person in Denver. I'm just going to tell you that.
I know. I'm going to be honest. The Raiders speaks to me because it's all black. And that's my color. I'm wearing a blue dress today, which is odd. But I love
you and Marissa
now that I'm
agree on that.
Dallas, man, it hurts me to say sadly, I'm a sucker for the Cowboys.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's tough. I know. I know that's tough for the Denver folks. But yeah, hey, look, if you're ever out in Vegas, and I'm with you on that. I've never actually been out in Vegas. I've driven through Vegas multiple times coming to college, but never been out in Vegas. So I'm thinking we need a company trip to Vegas at some point is what that sounds like.
Yes.
I don't know what trips. I've been to Vegas 5 times in the last 2 years. So.
Yeah. Well, and Marissa has too. She went and covered, all of the basketball stuff. So we need a group trip out to Vegas here soon. And I think Circa Resort and Casino, they have been great to us before. And look, if you're just getting out to Vegas, they're the place to go. So experience all that there is to see out at Circa Resort and Casino, and just go out there and have a good time. Also, we got to share some love with our friends over at Volo Sports. Volo Sports is a super awesome sports club, basically, that you can be a part of here. And it just means it's a sports membership where you get to go outside, join little sports clubs around the Denver area. And, we do beer in hand kickball, which was incredible and super challenging, where you run around playing kickball, trying not to spill your beer as you're playing. That was a blast. But they've got, I did their cornhole league last year. I mean, there's just so many cool opportunities with Volo. And with the Volo Pass, it's $20 a month. You get to meet a bunch of new people. You get to, kind of drop in as a sub on new teams. That's a great way to meet new people. You get to travel. There are different places you can go with the Volo Pass. So it is really just a great way to get outside, get to meet some new people, get to play some sports, some local sports in your community, and just have a good time. So sign up on the Volo app using code DNVR3 to get Volo Pass for only $10 a month for the first 3 months. All right. I want to do this real quick before we finish up this show. We do this segment called Stock Up or Stock Down, where we just kind of go through some of the key names, teams, talking points, whatever it is, and I just say them to you. You give your opinion on, are you going stock up on them? Are you feeling good about the future, about their what their aspects are, or are you stock down, not happy with where they're going, that kind of thing. And so I'm going to go down this list. I'm going to ask you, are you stock up, stock down? And you can just give me your input on that. So first of all, staying in your division in the American League, Seattle Mariners, stock up or stock down?
Down.
Okay. And why?
Mariners are just playing like Mariners. They just
Yes.
They get hot sometimes, but it seems they always cool off at the appropriate time for our division. So yeah, I'm gonna go stock down.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. New manager. They're 4 games back of the Astros. Their hitting has been atrocious this season. It doesn't look like it's getting better. I mean, they're clawing their way into a wild card maybe. So stock down on the Mariners. Jackson Holiday, stock up or stock down, and why?
I am going to. Can you do like a soft stock up?
Sure. You can add that.
I will do a soft stock up. Again, I'm gonna kind of put him in like the lighter category. Just so many expectations, being a player's kid. I think that he's starting to get into a little bit better rhythm of it. I mean, he was called up way too early. And I think that he is maybe settling in a little bit better. Again, I think he's going to have a lot of the mental stuff to work through. So it's a soft stock up, but I don't think he's the worst,
Yeah, that works. I agree with you, actually. I'll go with the soft stock up. He's been lights out these last few weeks. He's been playing incredible. But I think he's, still young. The sky's the limit for him. And I think if he continues playing the way he's playing, there is a future, all-star category for him in the future. But I think right now it's just he's young. And I don't think he's shown the consistent domination across the board. So I agree with you. Soft stock up. Hey, we'll go into your own organization. Jacob deGrom. He's been injured. I know you've been talking about him a little bit in some of your guys' podcasts. Stock up or stock down on deGrom?
I'm going to go stock up. He literally hit 100 miles an hour on fastball in his rehab start, and he is locating like Jacob deGrom does. Also his velocity increases over time with his age. It's going to be interesting. Hasn't really had like a full time of play since 2019. But he and Max Scherzer are insanely competitive, and they have something in them that they want to play as long as they possibly can. Stop.
Yeah. Perfect. And I know we'll be just baseball fans are going to be excited to see him back out there, hopefully carving it up a little bit. Stock up or stock down, Kansas City Royals?
Man, that's one that you wish you would have stocked up on a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
They're fun. They're fun right now. Yeah.
They
stock
are.
up.
Yep, they are. They're potentially a sweep of the Guardians here right now. I'm with you on that. Stock up. Another one of those teams that, kind of came from nobodies and is now a playoff contender. So stock up on the Royals. All right, last one. DLLS coverage of the Rangers right now. Stock up or stock down?
Man, invest everything. It's so fun. I mean, like I said, I've been around baseball my entire life, and I really haven't seen coverage like this before. It feels like with today's world, like anybody can hop on a podcast, and especially when players themselves are doing shows and showing so much exclusive content, it only makes sense that like media kind of takes the level up too. And I think it's so fun that, we've now got a few regions and we can make phone calls when we're playing against each other and, kind of have this back and forth all together. But no, we've got a great team here. We have high hopes for 2025. We're going to have a lot of fun in the off season and get a lot of guests on. I think maybe a guest that could be really good for Rangers fans to get excited about is Nathaniel Lowe. He loves to, I could see him having a very serious role in media after he is done playing. He already does like the Rangers podcast. When he was injured, he like sat in the booth and like called the game. His timing was like perfect. He was telling a story and then he's like, hold on, XYZ. So it's super fun. But no, we've got a lot of great stuff coming. Hope that we can have one of those really fun trips. Think you can maybe put in a good word to your wife for us.
Hey, I will put in the best word. We are so happy to have you guys on the team. Hey, real quick, before we sign off, plug your socials. Where are people going to find you on social media?
Yes. DLLS Sports is going to be our main page, DLLS Rangers Twitter, and you can follow, I guess it's called X now. I'm acting like I'm 50 years old. But we're going to have Cowboys coverage, Stars, Mavericks, Rangers, and so much more. I am Abigail on all socials. Abby Jones is a pretty generic name, so I had to get a little creative. But yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Hey, it's been a blast. Welcome to the team. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, fans, that you can find me on Twitter at CJJ Saez or at DNVR_Rockies. Shout out to our producer, Kale. Thanks so much for doing this. We're going to wrap it up and say goodbye, everyone. So this has been the DNVR Rockies podcast, brought to you by Bet365. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Thanks, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.